What's Parklea jail like? I was just thinking, I've got a video on, or many videos on Silverwater jail, but don't have any specifically addressing Parklea, I don't believe. And I may have covered little different bits of this story in different videos. It's very hard for me to remember what I've covered and what I haven't. Um, but Parklea, it's weird because the minimum part, or at least the new section of the minimum part, is actually really good. Okay, so if you're talking minimum security, and that means you're sentenced at court, you go to court, you get sentenced, like you've been found guilty, go to court to get sentenced. From there, you go to minimum security, or you might be in remand for just a little period, just a week or two at max, and then you'll go to minimum, right? If you can, you if you can elect to go to Parklea minimum, and if you get that, that's pretty good. The old part of it where you'll first end up in, because when you come in to the minimum section, you'll have to go first to the old section because all the new places are all taken, right? All the it's split. Like they've built a new section of the jail, but they've kept the old section as well, the old buildings. So in some of the old buildings are extremely stuffy and hot. They're like double brick. They're sweat boxes basically. So you want to do your best to get up into the new part, and the new part, once you can get up there, is really nice. I believe I've spoke about it before. It's a little bit weird how things work there. At least it was when I was there. It's divided by race. There's like three main buildings. We're talking about minimum security, right? In the new part, there's three main buildings up the top, and they're like townhouses. So it's divided into six because three separate buildings, but two floors, right? One of them had all Chinese. Another building had, I believe it was, had the Muslims up the top. Might have been actually a whole Muslim building. No, it had a mix of Africans in there as well. And where I was, it was Aussies and Asians up the top, and I believe down the bottom was Kuris. Right, so it just depends. Wherever your people are, that's where you'll have to go and try to see them. If you're down the bottom in the old part, which you really don't want to be in summer, in winter it probably wouldn't be that bad, but we got way better up the top. So you've got to take initiative to go up and get to know the boys. I just went up and knocked on the door and introduced myself. You've really got to put yourself out there in jail if you don't want to get stuck, staying down in the shitty part. The minimum security part's really good. It's not even jail. It's got a 75-inch TV on the wall in the lounge room. Really nice lounge room. Air conditioning, your own bedroom. I wouldn't even call it a cell. It's as good as my bedroom here. Probably better. It's quite good. A lot of 1-outs. It's got proper fridge, proper kitchen area. It's got a like cold tap for the water. Like from your tap, you will get refrigerated water. Like it's fucking pretty good, eh? What else can I say about it? Easy to get on the phone there. Easy to get visits there. Because if you live in Sydney, it's easy anyway. Good space to walk around. No standovers really. Of course, it's jail. There's still a little bit of violence, but it's really not bad. It's probably the best place I've been to. Parklea minimum security. Maximum security, however, it's kind of polar opposites. Minimum security at Parklea is the best place I've been to, but maximum security at Parklea is the worst place I've been to. So maximum security, let's talk about that now. I probably haven't fully covered everything about minimum security, but I mean, well, we could cover a little bit more. Like, what I'd do there, I'd just play cards with the boys basically every day. It was like a little holiday camp. If you can do your time there, or a place like that, it's not bad at all. It's pretty easy going. It's a little bit boring, just counting down the days till you get out. But because you'll be sentenced at that point if you're in minimum security. Yeah, it's easy going. I mean, you have arguments and fights. I've seen a few fights there. I only spent a month there just before I got out. I only spent 1 month, my last month in jail, at minimum security there. Maximum security. There's all different parts to the maximum security part. There's like reception where you come in, and people who have been to jail in past times at Parklea, the configuration of it's all changed around. They switched the main and the boneyard around. So Area 3 now's main. And when I was coming in, I was in the reception cage and we were walking off to wherever they were taking us. Turned out to be Area 3. And I got into an argument with one of the boys as I was walking past his cage because he asked me, "Where you going?" to the boneyard, because he must have been to the jail before, and the direction I was walking, he thought it was boneyard. And so me and him had words at the cage there, got into it a little bit. And what happened was, so I went off to Area 3. I was over there for a little bit, and one of the Curry boys calls me over to the fence. He knows me from outside. One of the Hickey boys. Hickey's a big name in jail. And calls me over to the fence, and we're good, and start talking and shit. He just basically asking me what I'm doing back in. He saw me last time I was in a different jail. And there, right next to him, was the dude who I'd got into it with earlier. So I was basically saying to the dude, "You're lucky I don't get brother boy here to fix you up, because, to teach you a lesson for being a smart cunt, Anyway, I was in the reception part. What can I say about it? It's dirty. Reception, this Area 3. It didn't seem that dangerous to me. I wasn't there that long, but it didn't seem too bad. Although I note that Big Cash had a story from Area 3 before where he said someone got raped in one of the cells next to him. One of the sweepers there that he was sweepers with got on the ice and raped someone. I mean, it's supposedly true story. Other people have confirmed it in comments. So that's absolutely crazy for me to hear. I didn't think Area 3 was too bad when I was there. It's still jail, but it wasn't that bad. It's a good place to stock up on getting more greens. You'll notice a lot of boys leaving the wing getting bail at around in the reception pod before you go over to the main pod. The main pod's the most treacherous. Reception's really not that bad. Stock up on greens as much as you can. It's filthy over at the reception pod. There's cockroaches. Showers in your cell. What can I say? When I was there was a dude who I don't know. I knew him from Amber Laurel. We came across together. He kept faking sickies all the time. I don't know. He was fucking petrified of jail, and he just kept faking sickies all the time, just basically trying to get himself out of the nightmare that he was in. There was a dude there that he was from Adelaide. He'd done a hit and run years ago. This was surprising to me to learn this, because he'd said that despite having a warrant out for his arrest in New South Wales, he'd been living in Adelaide and had been pulled over by the cops tons of times, and it didn't show up. And then when he came, he had to come back to New South Wales because his dad had died, and he had to take care of the funeral and selling the house and all that shit. And when he was here, he got pinched, and that's how he ended up in jail. But he got, believe it or not, even though he was an escape risk because he'd ran off the first time and had a warrant out for him, they gave him bail again and he fled again. Can you believe that? They actually gave him bail again. Because he was the funniest cunt, eh? He literally said to us that if he gets bail, he's gonna fucking take off again. And he got bail. Unbelievable. He was there. There was another dude there. There was actually a guy that was really good guy, really polite guy, really just clean cut, and just looked. If you spoke to him, you would never think that he was the type of guy that spent time in jail. But he'd spent the last 28 years in and out of jail, mostly in. It was just unbelievable to me how, uninstitutionalized and how normal he was. It was crazy. Anyway, what happened? He was a very small guy too, that guy. So, there was that little incident that I had at the fence in the reception part. I'm just trying to think, did I have any other real arguments? I mean, when I first came into the pod, someone tried to get me to take, drugs to a different cell when, because I believe it was just me and my cellie in the pod at that time, trying to get one of us to take drugs from one cell to another, and I wasn't doing it. And basically, he said to me, "Man, haven't you ever been here before?" I said, "Nah," and he said, "It's not like corrective services. The screws here don't give a fuck." Anyway, I just paid no attention to him, but later came to realize what he said had a lot of merit. The screws at Parklea just don't care. They're not as vigilant, and it's just a totally different atmosphere. Because out on the yard later, this is still in reception pod, just at the same gate where I'd met the hickey out earlier, one of the hickey boys. The fight broke out next door, and it was an older dude. He was maybe 45 or maybe 40, 45, and he was fighting with this young buck. He's only like, I reckon this kid was only about 19, 18, 19 or something. He was like, had a mullet, and it was over. I later learned that it was over something about the older guy was pedoing on and trying to get with his girlfriend outside or something, or maybe he did get with his girlfriend, I don't know. But it was amazing to me that this fight went on in the yard in full view of the cameras. Like, I had ringside seats because I was right up against the fence, and they were fighting literally on the other side of the fence. The young dude fucked him up, man. Like, fucking just absolutely bashed the fuck out of him. I mean, it was actually, he did pretty good, because what I was most impressed by was his use of knees and elbows. Like, it wasn't his first rodeo with using the knees and elbows. He'd had some training, because the way he just put combos together, he was pretty fucking proficient in the knees and elbows, and man, he just fucking gave it to him. I'll never forget when his head came down. Dude's head came down, he just grabbed it, like, he grabbed his head from the top, and he just brought his knee straight down into his fucking head. Ooh, should have seen the amount of blood that was coming out. So just fucking absolutely smashed him, and nothing happened. The yard didn't get locked down. The screws didn't come racing out. The guy, the fight just went on until the dude had decided he'd had enough of bashing him, and then the guy just walked off with his bloody face. I mean, the boys were, telling him to go clean himself up so he doesn't bring attention on the yard and shit like that. So you got that. Then you're gonna go from there. You go over to the main pods. Okay, so you're in Area 3. Area 3 is reception. Area 4 is minimum security. It's a little bit confusing. Area 3 is reception. Area 4 is minimum security. Area 5 is the main. This is where the action happens. There's 3 pods over there. 3 main pods. 5A, 5B, 5C. So you go over there, and this is where it takes a turn for the nasty, man. Area 5 at Parklea is extremely treacherous. Everyone I've spoken to agrees and has told me the same thing. There's a lot of stabbings there. Race wars pop off almost just completely unexpectedly and randomly. There's heaps of fights, heaps of standovers. You really got to be on your guard. As soon as I walked into the intake cage at Parklea, like area 5, I just felt something I've never felt in jail before. Just felt like fucking tension, like the eyes of the yard were just on me. You know what I mean? Because you're in an intake cage at first. You're in like a cage, but the whole yard can see you. And so one of the dudes was coming up asking me questions and shit like that, and I just felt a level of unease that I haven't really felt in jail. I held my composure well, but inside I was nervous, right? So, and my worst fears were affirmed. You know, I saw a lot of bullshit go down on that pod, and you know, I've seen a race war there where someone nearly got their throat cut. A lot of heads got stomped on that day. A lot of people got stabbed. I've seen a self-harmer in there cut himself up. I've seen... this was all within a few weeks too. I was only there for a few weeks. Another time, there was another incident which I'll go into later where a dude was calling out for the screws from his cell. This was during lock-in. And, you know, some of the other boys were saying, he's pulling your leg, Chief, and so we sort of, I didn't know whether, I just thought it was a joke, you know, because I heard other people say he's pulling your leg, and I was just sort of watching on with, just giggling along, not really taking anything serious, and I could see his cell door from my cell, like out of the peephole of my cell, and so the screws eventually came up to investigate when this dude kept yelling. And they opened the door, and he just fell out in a heap of blood. He's been stabbed the fuck up big time. So I was very keen to get off that pod, especially after the race war. That left me with a feeling of anxiety because, I mean, it's easy to say what you'd do and that you wouldn't give a fuck and you wouldn't be scared, but dude, you know, there was two prominent underworld killers on that pod. Very big names, you know. One of them got acquitted, but the other didn't. I've spoke about him before on here. And these dudes, man, they were absolutely fucking crazy. And the shit I saw is just unbelievable. So I was very keen to get off the pod. I kept putting my name down for work. I didn't like it there, of course. Who would? Then I went over to 5D. That's a demountable area. It's completely different to the rest of the pods. It's much newer and better. So, you know, word of advice, if you happen to find yourself in the main at Parklea, the best thing you can... But I've heard different things, you know, from a girl I talked to whose boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, I should say, is in protection at Parklea. She told me he does his time easy, there's no violence, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, I've heard different things. I've heard that Parklea protection, even the boneyard there, is pretty rough. But anyway, after that, I went to the working pod demountable area. It's like school demountables, you know, how they have demountables? It's similar to that. It's all modern. It's nice cells. A lot better class of inmate, and it's when I was there, it was mostly all Aussie boys there. There was a couple Islanders. It was a little bit mixed, but really, there was no drama. It was all good boys there for the most part. The dramas I had there was just with other Aussie boys. Had a few dramas and over the phone. Guy I knew from another jail was causing me a bit of... It wasn't really drama. We kept having disagreement. They had already been there, him and his mate, and they thought they ran the phone. So they kept trying to push in on me on the phone, and I wasn't having it. So I remember one time, like we kept getting into little disputes, you know, And he's kind of testing my patience, this little skinny fucking runt. And I was on the phone once to my uncle, literally on the phone, and he was shaking his head, mumbling to himself, just carrying on like a fucking idiot. And he'd just been saying just dumb little shit getting under my skin. I dropped the phone while it was, while I just said, hold on a minute, Unc. Put the phone down, went straight up to his face and just said, what do you want to fucking do? Do you want to go in the cell now? I'll take you in the cell and bash the fuck out of you, you little gronk. And he didn't know what to do, eh? He just fucking, no, blah, blah, blah. But the thing about this guy that was so weird is he did this a few times, and he's like trying to low key flex, because you'd do like chin ups in different places in front of me, and I don't know what he was trying to do, but after that, even after I pulled him up, he buckled. He'd still do it again. Like, he just wouldn't learn his lesson. This cunt. He was a weird cunt. Anyway, that was about as bad as it got there. I did hear that other people had some punch-ons and this and that, but from what I saw at the demountables area, like the working area, it's fucking pretty good. Like, that's the most that will happen. You'll just have to offer someone out and nothing will come of it, and it's just nothing. Not compared to fucking over 5 A, B, and C, where people are getting stabbed and shit like that. That doesn't really happen in the demountables area, because you only got the dudes there that really want to work. And so, it's a better class of inmate, and the screws aren't going to pick the troubled inmates to come over there. Anyway, unfortunately, it's hard to stay there long, because, even though you've worked your way to get to the working wing, it doesn't really count for anything, because what corrective services overall has in mind for you, they're planning on transferring you to another jail the next week, and they don't care how much progress you think you've made in this jail or what you're doing. They don't give a fuck. It's random bed placement. They've got a plan for you to move, so you'll be moved. But you probably won't get to stay at Parklea. You're going to work your way and finally get to the working pod, get comfortable, get settled, you're happy to stay there, and then they're going to move you anyway, because you never stay at Sydney jails that long. So it's kind of a moot point to get to the working pod, but still, you got to do it, because you don't want to stay in the main part for any longer than you have to. Getting visits at Parklea's good. It's pretty good visits there. It's an hour visit, I believe. My sister used to come on weekends. What else can I say? You can't really get much in terms of food and shit on visits. I think just snakes, like rainbow coloured snakes. I can't even remember, eh? And the lunches are alright at Parklea. That's one good thing about it. You don't have to eat the corrective services lunches. They've got, their own. The private jails have better lunches, but the breakfasts and dinners are the same. It's just CSI stuff. The rule of law, or whatever you want to call it, like this, the way the screws operate and run the place is not as good. They don't have control of the facility. The screws are scared of the inmates at Parklea. That's a big problem. They're not as well equipped. Like, they don't have the same safety gear and training. They don't have the numbers. They're understaffed. You get locked in your cell more. I don't know. Parklea overall is poorly managed. And if I was to compare it to, say, Silverwater, I don't know what comparisons. So I don't know where I'd rather go. I'd probably rather go to Silverwater. I'd rather go to fucking minimum security at Parklea, or even, the demountables area in the main. But if it was between Area 5 at Parklea and say Pod 13 at MRRC, like for like, I'll go to MRRC. It's run a little bit better. The screws have the place under control more. It's still no picnic. It's still very treacherous. They both are, but I feel that MRRC is a little bit better. than Parklea. That's all for this one.